I think that's a huge issue that really impacts people's well-being, and it impacts their engagement at work and just their tolerance level
Right.
or, the higher stress situations that people can end up being in.
Hey there, como se va and que pasa? Welcome to the In the Pocket with J Bo podcast, and I'm your host, Jay Bodwin. Today, we're going to be talking about a certain tricky subject, which I like to call it, and that's about boundaries, and we'll get to that in a second. For now, we'd like to ask everybody to please subscribe or follow us. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Apple, and also we advertise the show on X, which is formerly Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I think that's about it. So we're all over the place. There's no reason to miss us. We have a library of shows. And today we are on season 2, episode 9. And like I was saying, today's subject, we're talking about that very tricky topic of boundaries. It could be professional and they could be personal. So with that, Randy, I have a little surprise for you today, my guest. So I'm going to let you in on this surprise right now. Look out.
This is so fun.
Ooh.
And here's someone with no boundaries.
No boundaries. We have a guest star today. So joining us today is Nancy Hatley of the Florida Hatleys. And welcome to the show, Nancy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's hard to say,
And
not
she
to say
joined us.
anything to you, Randy. I almost on our last call today, I almost said, I'll talk to you later.
Oh my gosh, how fun. This is so exciting.
This was a total surprise. We were able to keep this on ice from Randy for quite a while. But anyway, I need to introduce our featured guest today, which is Randi Nine, a good friend for a few years now. And also so is Nancy, of course, and we're all friends. By chance, I want to say, and I didn't realize this, Randy brought it to my attention, that this is episode 9, and we have Randi Nine on the show today. So it all worked out for some way. And I don't know if you're noticing, Nancy, but Randy, if you'd like stand up a second, she's wearing a very special shirt today. The Bayou Junction shirt, which happens to be our band over here in Houston. So we really appreciate her repping us out there today.
Love that.
Always got to represent.
So thank you very much. We'll be getting into the subject a second, but I just wanted to, Nancy, where are you? You're in from Florida. What part of Florida are you in right now?
I live
Where you
in
live?
Bradenton, which is right
Bradenton.
south of St. Petersburg and north of Sarasota, right on the river.
Ah, okay.
So we kind of,
That's obviously for our guests. That's a very cosmopolitan area. If Nancy's there, I can tell you that right now. So.
it's nice because we have Sarasota, but we can, if we are into sports or anything, you can go up to St. Pete, watch the baseball team. You can watch the Rays there, or Tampa go to the Bucks games. So
I love it.
yeah,
Love it. This is so great. I'm so glad we caught you by surprise, Randy.
I'm so excited to have Nancy on. I think this is going to be a million times better.
This is the first time.
Well-
But anyway,
I can't do headphones. I don't like listening.
today we're gonna have a great show. It's gonna have some comedy in it. We're gonna have a couple of serious moments probably, but we are gonna be talking about personal and professional boundaries. So with that, I always like to start out the show every now and then with some icebreaker type of questions. And I think I'm only going to give her 2, Nancy. We'll see how she does with these, okay? So the first question is, and I promised Randy that I'd keep them very simple for her. I didn't want her overthinking it.
It's my first podcast.
Her very first podcast.
It's my very first podcast.
You know, Nancy's
So-
son runs a podcast, by the way.
Yep.
Nancy, how many podcasts have you been on?
Not, I don't think, just one.
Is this your first? Okay.
But it was kind of something, it was like at one of our, in our industry, one of the events that someone kind of does a live show from the floor that was recorded. And
Okay.
eventually, yeah, it's
But in pilot speak, not on the right seat though, right?
right.
As the co-pilot. All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple of icebreaker questions here, and then I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about you. So, first icebreaker question: what is your favorite month of the year and why?
It's like a it's
Now, don't act
it's
like
like
I
a
gave
trick
you a
question.
dissertation on
No, I'm
Formula
kidding.
Pi.
Um, I'm gonna go with I'm not
Oh my God, I should have written that
love I
down. I was going to say like July.
yeah, I love the 4th of July, Independence Day. I love celebrating that, and it's just the middle of the year. There's always fun activities going on, and friends and family are always around, and I'm from the Cleveland, Ohio area, so it's actually warm and sunny
Right.
in July, and that's usually a guarantee where, every other month of the year is a toss up. So I think I feel confident with my answer. July.
July. Okay.
Yeah.
I will have to say, sometimes you're very sad in December and January and February.
I don't
Yeah,
love
I
it.
And
agree.
kind of
Yeah, I agree.
closed in. The doom of the weather, the cold weather and everything.
The
We
holidays
have a
just ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 8 hours of daylight in the winter months. A lot of people are drastically impacted by it up here. I mean, there's just no vitamin D, there's no sunlight. Your circadian rhythm is completely thrown off. I know me especially. I take a I take a tank right after New Year's. This is me.
So
We'll
I
work
think,
on it.
Nancy, I think I have it narrowed down why she picked July because my birthday is July 3rd, and she's like, I gotta make sure Jay's happy here. So good
And
to
I'm a
go.
July birthday.
There's a connection going on. I like this. All right, for the
Okay.
show. Next question, Randy. You ready? Drum roll, please. What is your favorite travel destination?
This one's easier.
Okay.
Lake Tahoe, California side. Just absolutely love it. It's gorgeous. It has everything I love to do there. Hate getting there, but once I'm there, to me, that's Disney World. It's the happiest place on earth.
I love it. Love it. So, Nancy, I'm gonna hit you up on this one too. What is your favorite travel destination and why?
Wow.
Co-pilot means you co-guest too.
I would have to think about that. It's interesting. So we were just talking about that. And because I have to work a lot for work and
Sure.
things, sometimes I think it's actually my backyard.
I feel like that's fair.
I did not expect that.
I feel like
No,
that's
it's
fair.
just like it's the best vacation is just to stay put sometimes, or else, head out on the boat somewhere.
I'm sorry, Randy. Did I say her favorite staycation destination, or did I say her favorite vacation destination?
I mean, you said vacation, but
Yeah.
Okay.
But
you can have
if
a
I
staycation.
had
That
to
can be your
do a
vacation.
destination, I would have to say, you know what we love and we'll be out there next month is we do enjoy going out to Arizona. Yeah, we lived out there for a long
Okay.
time.
Okay.
My oldest son, his family are there. We have a lot of friends there. So we really do enjoy going back to Arizona. There's a lot of things like you like about Lake Tahoe, the skies, especially at night.
Mhm.
And this time of year, just the crispness and the air and everything in the
Right.
skies are just beautiful.
Very cool.
It's fortunate
Well,
that
and
we get to go back there. At least once or twice a year, and we do love so I would have to say going back to Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Nancy, I think you helped me invent a new category for icebreaker questions because now I'm going to ask what's their favorite staycation destination. I like that.
That's
I've never
very
done that one
popular in
before.
Arizona in the summertime because
So the little Hatley twist there you did help me out, I think. So before we get into today's subject, Randy, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, college and all that good stuff.
yeah, I am from and currently still reside in the greater Cleveland, Ohio area. My current residence is about 25 miles south of Cleveland and about 25 miles north of Akron, home of LeBron James. Real proud. I went to college at the Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. I think they've actually renamed it to something else since that time. And to be honest with you, I cannot recall what it is right now. And
Right.
then I went to law school at the University of Akron.
Look out.
Yeah. So
Zips.
the Zips, yes, which is actually a kangaroo for those of you who are not familiar.
I don't think I knew that either. I knew they were the zips, but I didn't know what a zip was actually,
A zip
other than a
apparently is a
code.
kangaroo. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. So I am married to a wonderful man, and I have a fantastic rescue pit bull mixed dog, Ramsey, who you all just got to see a minute ago when he decided that I should be off of the screens for the day. And
Okay.
he was letting me know, like, this is really unacceptable Mom, that you're still in front of a screen at this time of the evening.
You need to be paying attention to him, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Mind you, I did squeeze a walk in. He went to the park before
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good deal. Good deal. Well, no. So you are an attorney.
I am. Yes.
Okay. And for full disclosure purposes here, none of us are boundary experts or are certified in the subject of boundaries. We are everyday people, which is the foundation of the JBO podcast, and everyday people talking about everyday type of subjects. And Randy and I were discussing having a podcast of Randy, what was it, about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe, because you heard
Yeah.
I was doing one. And we talk often about deals that we work on every now and then. And like, I'm like, okay, well, let's come up with a subject. And I think you came up with it, or I don't remember. It was just in a conversation. And I think something happened and you said boundary, or I said boundary, and we're like, boundaries, that would be awesome. So let's do that. So we've been talking about this for about 2 or 3 months, and the wheels started turning. Remember, we were talking about it, and we're like, oh, we could come up with all kind of things to talk about here. Just be narrowing down to which subject lines that would we want to hit here. And because I think the term's becoming a little more vogue per se, especially with the younger generations. I think they say it's in my space or something like that, but we'll stick with the old school term and call it boundaries. I just like that better anyway. So as I was telling Nancy earlier today when we were sneaking you, is it's my show. I can do what I want, you know.
You really can. No boundaries.
No boundaries except this is the only time I get my wife on cameras right
That
here.
is so cute. I remember when you got that
Your
She's
bobblehead.
poor
adorable.
laugh.
Like, Becky, you coming on the show? No.
I remember when you
Anyway,
got that for Christmas. Kids were
yeah, it was
cute.
so cool. My daughter-in-law
Yeah,
Erica.
such a cute idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's move on into today's subject. So, what Nancy and I came up with for you, Miss Randy, is four topics of discussion, and the first one that I want to bring to your attention is a work life invasion. So, let's talk about that for a minute. And I think I got a couple of notes here. So, some of the things is like poking fun at bosses or clients who think after hours is easy or early in the morning's great, or the ever popular coworker that's sending emails out at midnight. And, you know, I call that the look at me crowd, look at me, you know, that type of stuff. But let's talk about the work life invasion thing for a minute here. So what kind of thoughts do you have as far as that's concerned?
So from the standpoint of, you know, how do I personally feel about those who invade our life or our personal time with work
Right. Right.
tasks? Yeah. I mean, I
And
feel like
we'll leave the names out to protect the guilty.
100%. No, I think everybody's dealt with this at some stage of their career, right? Like I I'm very lucky that at this current stage where I am right now, this is not an issue that I am personally dealing with. And I realize you guys are kind of in a different arena than I am, but I've been probably for the first time in my career really able to manage my work life balance in a way that is fulfilling for me. But I certainly have friends, family members who are currently living a nightmarish work life invasion. Uh, Someone is getting scheduled after the workday is over because maybe somebody else decided they weren't going to work all day,
Right, right.
and now they want to get you on a call at 7 o'clock at night and, cover everything that they missed while they were doing whatever. Um, people forced to work during their vacations,
Yeah,
where, I mean, I think that's a huge issue that really impacts people's well-being, and it impacts their engagement at work and just their tolerance level
right.
for, the higher stress situations that people can end up being in.
I look at those types of situations where you need to use some discretion. And if it's an important project or deal you're working on and you let your customer know ahead of time that you're dealing with, hey, I'm going to be on PTO, I'm going to be on vacation. But if it's a vital deal or a very important deal, and Nancy, I know you know this, you have to at least give them some parameters. Hey, I'm going to be on vacation at this time. However, I may be available at these times, but just text me or email me and I'll respond to you. I don't know about texting. Email me and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. You're very important to me. I don't want to drop this. I know how important this project is to you. And sometimes that boundary needs to be leaned on a little hard. But I find most of the time, if it's an internal thing, um, and since we're on the work subject here, you may have a customer that is, they're just not cognizant or respectful of that type of boundary. And that's where sometimes you need to do the pushback thing. And I've done it before. I'm sure Nancy's done it before. And Randy, I'm sure you've done it before in our careers. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but sometimes you need to get away. And when they say get away, you need to unplug and close the door and not look back at what's currently going on in your work environment and enjoy when you go to Lake Tahoe or when you go to Nancy's backyard and enjoy yourself out there. I think those kind of things are kind of important. And Nancy, with that, I feel like if you can kind of address that on the front end, that may help that situation. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting when you look and you brought in, when we're on PTO and trying to do that. And so it's hard because it's like, well, do I want to come back to a headache that first day or do I want to try to lightly
Right.
manage throughout? But we can really take leads from some of our global colleagues who truly don't look at they truly respect the fact that, hey, I'm on PTO for 2 weeks. I'm on PTO for a week. You're not, and we know. And I don't know if it's just something that we tend to do or just the way that we work here in North America versus globally. But I know there have been studies about that. And it's really interesting because a mutual friend of yours and mine that just did her doctorates was kind of based around some of this, her thesis, and comparing that. But, when it comes, fortunately, they've made the tools because I am guilty. If I'm in the field all day, I get to my hotel room that night. That's when I'm finally catching up on emails, but you can deliver that have that d delivery, like, their time
Hmm.
first thing in the morning, like, at 8 o'clock. And I do this to someone that we work with, and she was recently on vacation. She's like, "Nancy, what the heck?" She goes, "You had all these emails come in at 8 o'clock," and she's over in another part of the world. And she's like, "I know you weren't up at 2 a.m. doing this, but I arranged for
Right.
them all to just wait until she got back and that morning and do that." And so fortunately, if we manage our tools correctly, we can make sure that we're not going through those boundaries to a colleague
Hmm.
and interfering with their personal time and things.
I think one thing that's helped, Randy, is if you have a teammate or a colleague that can have your back during those
But yeah.
times. And
Yeah.
because I've used that quite a bit, and I've actually volunteered to help people when they were out because I know what it's like to get inundated while you're on PTO, and not just if you're with your spouse, but especially if you have the kids, or as I refer to them, the mood killers. If you have the mood killers running around and you need to manage them and watch them and everything else too, your PTO or your vacation can end up with the results just the opposite of what the intended was. Because not only are you trying
Right.
to manage work tasks, you're also trying to keep up with people that are with you, your loved ones that are with you on vacation. And then you're going to have that one of them say, "Why are you doing this work? You need to stop it. Cut the phone off, turn the computer off," and it happens. So, Randy, what do you
Yeah.
think about that? About, maybe if you don't do it now, get a coworker to help you out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great solution if you happen to be in a position where that's an option. I think sometimes, like you guys were talking initially about larger projects and, high priority projects and things like that, and that happens, right?
Sure.
There's extenuating circumstances, and then there's somebody making something a habit, right? Where something is not urgent, but there's still an expectation that you're going to interrupt your personal time to get them an answer or get them a response or get them, whatever it is that they need. And I think it's great. I think it's great if you happen to have somebody who can back you up. Sometimes it's not realistic though, right? Where
Sure.
where there's just not an opportunity to transfer them the knowledge that would be needed for somebody else to kind of take the ball down the field in your absence.
Right. And I know we worked on some things together, and we're not going to mention any names, but for instance, if you're out, I know I can call the Commodore, and we'll refer to him as the Commodore. I'll call the Commodore, and he's fantastic,
100
and I know
100%.
he'll have your back to do anything. And if he's out for something that, I know you would have his back. So that's just good stuff there. And also, if you're getting a colleague to help you out, it's a good idea that they have some familiarity about what's going on, just the important things, because I can't tell you, and we're going to have a little comedy moment here. I'll be on vacation, and Nancy, the emails are coming. I'm looking, I'm like, man, damn, I don't want to deal with this right now. Ugh, So, and
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that likes leaving my phone behind. Now, I'll do it when I'm on a cruise. I don't know why, but if I just take a regular type of vacation, it just sticks to me. And I think it goes back to when, because my boys are now 29 and 25, soon to be 26. But when they were the little mood killers, I had to have the phone just in case if something happened, and but they weren't with me. I just wanted to make sure I was there to support. But I can't tell you how many times I'll look at my phone and go, I don't want to deal with this right now, especially if you're on a beach or something like that where you just serenity.
Just want to relax.
Sure, y'all
Be
have
in the
experienced
moment.
that, right, Nancy?
Yeah, you want to be in the moment too. This if it you think about you taking a trip, it's an investment. It's an investment in your
Yes.
family and things, and you've worked hard to do that, and so you have to just be
And
present.
I guess, both of y'all, I think it goes back to that old saying is you don't live to work, you work so you can live. And
Right.
I think that's very, very important. And I can't believe how much I've educated myself with almost 2 seasons of hosting podcasts. It's just, I feel like I'm so much more intelligent, which is, you know, I need it, believe me. But it's just, I learned a lot of things. And one of the podcasts I had a few shows ago, and it's a guy named Ronald George. He was in the podcast where we were talking about staying active as life progresses. And Ronald goes to the gym almost every day. He's about 71, 72 years old. And he's a hammer. He gets in there and works at it. And during the podcast, he said, Jay, I'm not looking to add years to my life. I'm looking to add life to my years. And I really thought that was a eye-opening phrase that he had. And it kind of intertwined that with the boundary of, when you're on vacation, you need to recharge, you need to get away. And like, for instance, I'm leaving to go on a cruise in about 10 days now. I'm ready to go pull the lawn chair up to Galveston at the dock and just wait to go right now. But I think, Randy, that comes along with trying to set some expectations and boundaries when it comes to that type of thing.
Absolutely. And I do think that, this is a great tie-in because it's something that has become more important to me the older I've gotten, right? Like when I was younger and earlier in my career, I did want to be that look at me,
Right.
look at me. I'm working till, this time and I'm working on my vacation and oh, I'm just
Working so
I'm
hard.
just And it's like, what did I accomplish with that, other than just
Right.
burning myself out and not living my life, not enjoying my life. So, like, as time has progressed and, you start to realize that you do have a limited number of years and you want those years to really be something that is memorable and that you're experiencing and that
Positive.
you're yeah, and that you're having these experiences with your loved ones and your family and your friends and everything. And you have to start defining what those boundaries look like, right?
Right.
Like, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. And then you have to communicate them. And then once they've been communicated, you got to enforce them. I think Nancy, you're so amazing at both doing this, but also on being the backup
Right.
person
Right.
for other people as well. Like, I've got to watch that firsthand where, you know, you might be out, but you'll have your little timeline where you're like, this is the time that I'm setting aside because I know I still need to stay on top of things, right? I can't just let everything just kind of sit and wait for me to get back. But this is the little block of time that I'm going to say I'll be available, that I'll look at emails, I'll do these things. And then you stick to that. And you communicate it and you enforce it and issues. And then I watched just actually the last week or so, last 2 weeks, you just stepped right in and covered for a colleague who, had a major life event they needed to be off for. And I had the opportunity to actually talk to that colleague upon their return. And I mean, that gift that you gave was, you don't need to send him a gift now, Nancy. You gave him a gift of not having to worry while he was off.
It's a major life event, and we don't want his new spouse to be upset with him right away because he's on an email. Yeah.
Right. Right out of the gate.
Even
Let's just get this out on the table right out of the gate.
And look, Nancy and I are colleagues, and I have to say, she's probably one of the most trusted colleagues I have with one or two others. And I know she's the type of person that if I have something happen at midnight, God forbid, I'd have to, if I'm on vacation, I can't get anybody to help. I would have like about a second or two of trepidation, but I would call her and ask her if she could help me. But she definitely knows that she could do that same thing with
yeah,
me if needed.
yeah.
And if you're not sure, I'm telling you right
No,
now, but
I know
I
that.
think you know that. So, and then after we work out what we need to, we'll call Randy tomorrow to get the
Yeah,
TCC straight.
get it approved.
It's fine.
Jay,
Yeah,
are you
Case we need
crazy?
to cover our tracks on anything, call legal.
it's
Now, a
fine.
couple of times Randy's fired back at me, and I said, "Man, I can get this treatment at home. I don't need that." I think we covered a lot of ground here on the work-life invasion thing because I know we're having some laughs and we had some serious moments with it, but it does happen. It can be a game changer. And look, I guess it's as I get older, I value the PTO time and the vacation time more and more. And it's like I think Randy said, you don't know how much time you got left, so you want to make sure that you're enjoying it as you do it. And I think setting that boundary along with the expectations we talked about, but also being strategic in your planning. If you have something very important going on, it's monumental of the importance of the situation that you're probably going to have to deal with. So I think we covered some good ground on that, and we got 3 more to go. So we probably should go on to the next one here. Okay. Randy,
Not the texting.
let's talk about texting. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to get official like they do on TV. Let's go to the B block, Nancy. On the B block here, we're going to call this texting, the black hole of texting. And I also want to talk about group texting and boundaries we can have with those types of things. So, Randy, I see you smiling away. So why don't you give me some comments on the texting black hole?
The texting black hole. Texting, I think, it's a phenomenal way to communicate, and it's probably the primary way that I communicate with my friends and family. And I'm sure that's true for most people at this point. But, the first thing we should probably touch on as far as that's concerned is really the expectation of immediate availability
Yes.
and how that has transcended kind of the way that we all communicate and um has probably really crossed some lines to some degree as far as boundaries are concerned. Just because you can send a text and it's immediately delivered doesn't necessarily mean that it's immediately being read. And even if it is immediately being read, I don't like the expectation that I am supposed to immediately respond. So I think, that's another opportunity where if you are somebody who maybe, hey, for 2 hours a night, I spend time with my family. I don't have my phone on anywhere near me. If you're somebody who does that, I think that's great. I think, you just maybe want to communicate it to people that, and that's sad, right? It's sad that you would feel like you have to tell people, hey, if you text me between these hours, like don't expect to get an immediate response.
Maybe you should have an auto reply with that, right, Nancy?
Well, and wish there was a way we could do that with text messages. I'm currently away from texting.
They have do not disturb
They
settings
do.
Yes.
on it,
Yeah.
at least on the
Yeah.
iPhone anyway, where I've certainly received that. Or I think now it tells you before you even send the text that so and so has do not disturb on, um, which, kind of sets the expectation. I'm just of the opinion that I shouldn't have to turn on a setting
Right.
that notifies you not to expect an immediate response. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel strongly that there shouldn't be that expectation of immediate availability
Mhm.
of everyone in your life.
I have some thoughts about that as you were describing it. And we're on a texting black hole here. And if it's important enough, I get old school, I'll call somebody and I'll
Yeah.
leave them a message. Now, if somebody texts to me, if I'm not busy doing something, I'll respond really quick. And but if I'm in the middle of doing something important, either personally or professionally, I'll respond to it when I respond to it. But professionally is going to take a little more priority, of course. Personally, it just depends on what the situation is or what the actual text message is. But I just believe if you call somebody and you leave them a message and you know the phone number, it's not one of these million spam calls I get every day.
Mm,
Excuse me. And if I know who the number is, if they call me and they don't leave a message, I just have the J Bo rules, I guess. I'll get back to them when I get back to them. And if they leave me a message, then I'm like, oh, I probably need to check this out. So I'll listen to it and respond accordingly, depending on what the message is, of course. So to me, the boundary with that is, and I totally agree with you, Randy, is that especially if you're in a group text, because group text somewhat, you don't always need to respond. And sometimes with group text, they'll start flying fast and furious if you got like 6 or 7 people plus on the text. And
right.
half the time I have no freaking interest in what's going on with it. And I don't know how to get out of the damn, the train that's going 1,000 miles an hour without jumping off. And I don't care who gets offended because most of the time it's friends. So I really don't care. And they know that. But that happens every now and then. I mean, Nancy, I guess you'll get a group text sometime. I know you and all your buddies went to a little Barbie movie last year, but I'm sure y'all were texting each other before y'all went, right?
Well, and it's hard. The worst ones though are when someone sends out like a party invite or something to something coming up, and
Yeah.
it just or something that you have to link into, and they just go on and on and on. I'll just say I have to leave this because a lot of times people I don't know, and it just that those ones get really crazy. But it's interesting because it. I used to be as a parent, you used to have my phone right by my bed, and now
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
to.
Right.
Now they're at the ages where they have
The
their
mood killers are gone,
I
baby.
know. They get to do all the worrying now for those things. But it's But no, I think fortunately, and that I hang out with, do things with, they all are, a lot of them are different time zones, so that gets hard.
Oh, yeah,
Especially
yeah.
when we came back to Florida and all my friends in Arizona
And you're
wanna
Eastern.
be, it's like, "Good gosh, it's 11 o'clock at night," you know? I know it's only 7 there or something, and that's where it gets a little crazy is, the
Yeah.
time difference, but I just stopped answering. It's like then, it's funny, do I respond at I get up early, I'm an early riser, do I respond at 5 a.m. when they're sleeping?
That's the fun part, the revenge part.
I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I'll wait and then respond, but that's gotten better. That's gotten better,
You know,
realizing the best time zones and everything.
Randy, one part of the group texting thing, and Nancy brought up a good point. People may be in different time zones, but also you may get a group text with, I don't know, just say 6 or 7 people, and there'll be 3 names, you know, and 3 numbers, you have no idea who that is. And that's when I'm a little hesitant to respond to anything on it because I don't know who the hell that is. And, God knows everybody gets offended, especially the younger ones get offended at every other thing that's said, and I think y'all know me well enough. I could give a rat's ass about that, but it just is what it is. But I'll yield to the conservative side if I see phone numbers on there that I'm not familiar with, and it might be somebody's mother or something. I don't
Right.
know what the subject is, but you don't want to say anything inappropriate,
Right.
and my hypocrisy knows some bounds at least, with boundaries, But with that, Randy, I think sometimes that can go on with the never ending. Okay, thank you, thumbs up, have a good night. Okay,
Yes.
bye, see ya, have a good day, and it ends up being a back and forth 4 or 5 times to say goodbye.
It's called the Southern goodbye.
Right,
We're known for that in the South.
that is true.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Well, I think too now where you can kind of use the emoticons too, I mean, how many notifications do I get from a group text just because people are liking
Right.
Yes,
or
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like doing the thumbs up or, doing the
smiley face or frowning face,
yeah,
or
yeah, whatever. And it's sometimes it's kind of cute, but I think it just depends too, it's like what's the expectation? Um the other thing I know I've seen with some of this is people sending messages to the wrong
oh,
group
yeah,
text, because there's there's a different contingent, right, of people where it's like, okay, well, this group text over here might have these 7 people in it, but then there's a separate group text that only has these 4, but all 4 of them are part of that 7. And you accidentally send something that you meant to just send to the 4 to the 7,
right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And so I've definitely seen that quite a bit happen where, I think there's a lot of use for group texts.
Yes,
I do. I think they're overused.
yeah. I
I
think they're
think they're
too
overused.
easily used, and I'm gonna come back to the texting thing, but first we had I think first we had spam phone calls, then we had spam emails, and now we got spam texting because I'll
Yeah.
get 1 or 2 a day now. Hey, are we still meeting for dinner today? At some crazy area code I've never seen before, or wow, that was awesome. What time will you be coming by today? Or something just totally freaking stupid, And I'm sure y'all get that kind of stuff too. And I just delete them. And I don't think it does any good to delete the phone numbers because they can randomly pick numbers to send the information to for texting, or
I
calling.
once got a call from my own phone number. Like, it was my own like,
I did
on
too.
like, my own phone number was on the screen, and then
Yeah,
it
I'm like,
also
what
happened
the?
yeah, it also happened to a guy that used to work for me. Um, he called me in the morning and was like, "Did you just call me? Did I just miss a call from you?" I'm like, "No." But my number's in his phone, so it came up that Randi Nine called him. I didn't call him,
Right.
I mean, but they'll spoof with actual real numbers that are out
Yeah,
there.
I got a phone. This is about 10 years ago when had my lesson learned there is I had a number that called me like 3 times a week from the same number, and then I called it back, and the guy goes, "Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't call you. This is my personal number." And I went, "I think I know what they're doing here. They're just
Yeah,
they can cue in a certain number that they're calling from." And like I said, this is about 10 years ago. They can cue in a certain number to just mask where they're calling from, and they like having area codes that you're familiar with or something like that because I'm from New Orleans and I have so many spam phone calls from a 504 area code and spam text messages too as well. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but every day
every
at
day,
least one or two from about
every
50
day, calls and texts every day.
crazy. Crazy. Well,
Yeah,
before we get angry, maybe we'll move on to the next subject
yeah,
line
Well,
because I see us kind of going,
yeah. We'd be
be
here all night.
lighthearted.
You can't set boundaries with those people.
No.
yeah. And for everybody out in podcast land, Randy's a pistol, so I don't want to upset her.
Well, and we kind of talk about boundaries, and s- fortunately, in my neighborhood, we don't have any of those group ones. But how about when you get to into your neighborhood, Randy, and the boundaries, and the no fence, what can turn into a Peyton place, and it's really
Right.
interesting because for me, my neighbors all kind of on each side of me and across the street are snowbirds. They just got in from Michigan the other day and they're only here for a couple months. So I'm in some ways very fortunate that my direct neighbors are just never here. It's very quiet here
Wow.
for
Okay.
us. But then, we do have a tight knit group here in our neighborhood. And when you see that and come into a neighborhood, like when we moved back to this area, it's like, how close do you want to get, or what kind of boundaries do you set up?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're comfortable with, for sure, and I think it also depends on what, how you view the other neighbors, right? Like, my neighborhood, for example, is fantastic. Like, nobody's really getting into anybody's business. I mean, we do have little neighborhood gatherings on occasion, and it's really nice, and everybody's so friendly. But I think there's such a vast age range within the neighborhood too, where there's people that are retired, and then there's, younger professionals that are just starting to move into the area. So, and our houses are just they're far apart. Like,
Right.
I don't live in a neighborhood where anybody's on top of each other. But I can certainly I've seen some things, Nance. I've seen some things, where the neighborhood is comprised of like essentially a group of friends, right? Where they all kind of make
Clickish.
this plan. Yeah, to all kind of as the houses go up for sale, they're all buying and they're moving in and
Interesting.
they're all within the same age range. And I've seen that go bad.
Yeah.
And it does become awkward, especially when you have kids and their kids play with their
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the other children, and it's like you don't wanna let the kids know, and you don't wanna involve the kids in whatever feud has
I bet.
ignited, within the neighborhood, but, I've seen that go south quickly, and it is a really great question about, what boundaries do you impose when you live close to other people and you're socializing. And me personally, I don't want to have to sell my house. So I'm going to set some not strong boundaries, but there's going to be uh, there's going to be a limit
Right. Well, you
as
always
to,
want to keep
how
it
much.
like very vanilla, like friendly.
Yeah.
And you want to engage, you want to know your neighbors, but you want to make sure that you do have that boundary up sometimes,
Well,
because especially if you've seen it before. Now, I've lived in some neighborhoods and I mean, we've been very close. Like when our children were younger and we were stationed up in the panhandle and my husband was deployed all the time. He was never there. Well, we were in a neighborhood close to the base and most of us, all the wives, all my neighbors, all our husbands were pilots, Air Force pilots. And there were conflicts going on. So it was very stressful. Like during the day, we were very relaxed, we were relaxed but up because we knew wherever our husbands were flying, it was nighttime. And my husband he was special ops. All his flying was at night. So I'd be very stressed during the day. And then I'd sleep at night because I knew it was daytime where he was.
Right.
And I could be like, I can sleep tonight. But we were such a good support. So neighbors like that, we really opened
Yeah.
up more to our situations. We were probably more open than a typical neighborhood because we
Right.
really relied on each other to support with the kids. Like, I have a doctor's appointment. I can't drag them along. And we,
Right.
shuffle the kids around so we could get different things like that done in our lives. So I think there's situations where you have those good neighborhoods where that works. But then I don't know what it is. Everyone's heard about the villages here in Florida. I would never live there.
I've been there several times.
I've just heard so
I
many
have.
scary stories like where people
Yeah.
probably have to move because weird situations have happened.
Yeah. Well, I can
For
tell you
sure.
with setting the boundaries out on the property because, Randy, it sounds like you're in kind of a rural area where you are a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. No, I am. For
Randy's
sure.
probably got an electric fence and she's out there like a sniper with all the gear on and everything. You never know. So, yeah.
I mean, no, no. But
Nancy, she
it's
got a
just,
spotter next to her.
it's just, it's, I live in a township,
Yeah,
right?
Right. Right.
I mean, it's not very populated. So there is a lot of space and a
it's
lot of
nice.
land and you're spread out a little bit more. Well, we went from living in Cleveland proper, like in a little neighborhood right outside of downtown in Cleveland for about 10 years. We moved here about 6 years ago after we had just had a string of just bad luck, home break-ins, car break-ins. I got bit by a dog. Like, it was just, like, one thing after another to the point where my husband was just like, "That's it," and we just went in the complete opposite direction,
Right. Right.
where we were just like, "You know what? We're gonna just do a complete 180, and, we're gonna have land, and we're gonna
Sure.
be away from everybody else," and, there's good and bad. There's good and bad with it.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we brought up here is that it can end up like kind of a Peyton place, which Nancy said earlier. And that can get a little rough. And sometimes the only way to find out what tier or what level of relationship you can have with your neighbors is just by trial and error.
It really is.
Just, just relationship development. I hate to use a corporate term talking about personal and neighbors and things, but it's almost kind of you need to feel it out. And because my wife, and it's kind of weird because we're like we're the elder statesmen in the neighborhood here where we are. We live more in a traditional neighborhood. I wanted a rural area like Randy's got, didn't get it. I wanted a fireplace, didn't get it. And I wanted a big yard, didn't get it. So yeah, you see who runs the show here, and it's
Well,
not
do
me.
you want my house? Because we have those things, and they aren't things that I actually cared about either.
I have
That's what my
no
husband
desire to
wanted.
go to Cleveland.
In July,
So
it's lovely.
right. So with that, it's kind of a trial and error because my wife is kind of the neighborhood mom per se around here, and she's real good friends with about three or four of the young ladies around here. They're all about in their 30s, early 40s, and if they need something, a dog watched or kids watched or something like that, she's the one who gets called because they know she's dependable and she'll do it. And I'm the one sometimes like, girl, we're done with the mood killers and all that stuff. We don't need to be dealing with that. And all I get is shut up. I like doing it, and then I back away. But
Well,
like for instance, we got a ring a few years ago on the door with the camera. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, why do you need that? You're peeking out the blinds of the house all the time. What do we need that for? She's like the old ladies in the neighborhood, Nancy, they peeking out the blinds. why they parked on the other side of the driveway today? They usually park on the other side. I'm like, Lord have mercy. It can end up like a Peyton Place, which I mean, I come from some of these old neighborhoods in New Orleans, man. These people don't hold back if it gets ugly, and it can get ugly sometimes. Yeah, it can get ugly, like physical and property destruction ugly.
Oh,
I've seen that happen, you know? So
Yeah, I've seen some confrontations go take place. But it is important still to have, like your Becky, you
absolutely,
know.
yeah,
I mean, to have that person in the neighborhood that you can rely upon
yeah,
to help you out. It's just, how many of those do you want?
right,
And how many are they connected to? And
yeah.
well, heaven
We're
it's
just
forbid.
just
kinda lucky with that, with setting the boundary with that because, the boundary kinda sets itself because the street twists and turns away
yeah.
3 or 4 houses down from us, so you really don't see them that much, and one icebreaker thing that we used when we first moved here about 6 years ago, I think, is I started putting a fire pit at the end of the driveway and just playing music, and people would just gravitate coming over, and you got to meet people, talk to them, and you see certain things about them, but it's cool to be able to drive down the street though and see somebody and they just, "Hey, we saw y'all were having a fire pit," or we were on the neighborhood Facebook page. "Hey,
Yeah.
we got the fire pit going at 8 o'clock and we're playing some Stevie Ray Vaughan," and it's
So
something like
fun.
that. Or, we'll be playing some Earth, Wind and Fire this evening or something like that. And people will be riding bikes or their golf carts and come stop by for
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes, walking their dogs will come stop by. So that's fun stuff, but it's good icebreaker type of material with hopefully avoiding that kind of negative Peyton Place thing that could possibly happen. And we've had a lot of fun and a lot of luck with that. Now, my wife may have to shut us down at like 1:30 or 2 in the morning sometime and tell everybody go home, and I need to come inside, but which I'm sure y'all could see.
I mean, she's setting a boundary.
Yeah, she sets the
She's
boundary. She
setting a
means the boundary.
boundary. Yeah. She's like, all right,
I call it the Uber walk,
fun times
Nancy.
are
I'll
over.
Uber walk into my house.
Well, and that's a good segue into the next question.
Yes,
Actually, setting a boundary and saying, and so when do you learn just, you know, saying no? And, this
Yeah.
when Jay was talking about this question, I had to learn how to do this personally. I used to always be the one that said yes,
I can see that.
especially volunteer when our sons were younger, they were at a parochial school, you know, if you can't open your wallet all the time, you're asked to volunteer and do things and being good. And finally, I think it was one summer or one year, my husband was like, "You need to say no this year," because he saw all the extra load. He was still active duty, and he just knew it was still, very stressful. That it's more stress that he wanted me to give that time back to myself. He was like, "You need to give
Right.
that to yourself this year." And it was really hard, and those people that were used to me saying yes didn't, they weren't really happy with me. But
How did it make you feel, Nancy? Like, this is something I'm really working on right
mhm,
now myself, where like I'm trying to learn how to say no. And, you know, I think I have good intentions in the moment. And then I find that I overcommit a lot and I overextend, but I it's like I want to be helpful and I want to, make people's lives easier, contribute or just whatever. And then I have this like immense guilt for saying no, even though I would never ask anyone to do anything for me.
well,
So it's
exactly,
like,
right?
I can see that too.
Right?
Yeah.
Is interesting. I'm the middle child of 5.
okay,
And so I think,
Jan Brady.
yeah,
Marsha, Marsha,
yeah.
Marsha.
I think we have the tendency to always want to be like the mediator, the one that makes sure everything goes smoothly, be there, be in front. And it's just like, wait, I'll do it. And, so there's different things with whether it's work or whether it's personal. And I think it was more personal work. I think there are expectations, where we,
Yes.
Yeah.
not always. But so this is all, just personal. And, different things that you're involved with. And there's even things now where, they're always trying to get me. When are you finally going to quit working? That's the one that's really hard for me because I enjoy working. And there's reasons why I do. And, it's like, because we need you to start doing this for us and join us with this. And it's like, see, there's an ulterior motive there.
Yeah, that's offensive.
And
We
it's
need
just
you.
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this question is I'm getting really tired of hearing this question. But the ulterior motive is they want me to be more involved in different committees or organizations because they know I'm so used to being busy. It's like, well, would you please retire from work so we can keep you busy on these organizations now? And there are things that I'm looking forward to doing those things. And
Sure.
it's just hard and it will come. You just have to be strong, Randy. You just because there's other people out there too that can do it. And I think we just don't realize that sometimes. We think sometimes, well, I'm the only one that can do it that will make sure it's done right. Because I want it done right for either personal reasons, is it going to benefit, family or something or whatever I'm involved with. But, it just it's one of the hardest things. But once you get a knack for it, trust me, it's easy.
So you're just gonna make it a
Well,
habit is what you're
but the
saying.
thing
Just
is,
like, no, no,
you're not going to say
no.
no to everything, though. That's the thing.
No, of
You're
course
going to
not.
be more
Yeah.
select. And if they
Yeah.
need an explanation, just say, well, I'm going to be very selective on the choices that I make going into this next year. That's my resolution. I call them revolutions. I don't call it a New Year's resolution. Call it a revolution, but whatever.
Revolution.
So is it, I mean, because you kind of did give a little bit of an explanation even there where where you were saying, "Oh, I'm choosing to, be more judicious with my time or whatever." I mean, are you a proponent of no as a complete sentence? Like that's something I always like to say, but I'm not great at it in practice. Like no is a complete sentence. Like I've answered the question if it's a yes or no question. I don't owe you any additional
I'm
explanation beyond that.
I've gotten better at that because I think traditionally I've seen it just, I can even go back to when I was in eighth grade and thinking a situation, where I always feel like I have to give a reason. And it's like,
Yes.
no, you don't. You don't have to, you don't owe them a reason. This is your space. This is you saying no. I mean, you can politely say, no, I can't do it at this time. I can't volunteer for this right now. I would love to, but right now I can't.
I think kind of a universal response you can have with there, and I'm in the universal responses. I think the universal response you can have there is, I'm not available then.
Hmm.
Not available then.
Yeah.
That's good.
And if someone's brave enough to ask me, why am I not available? They'll get the appropriate response. But another one that I like to use, and Nancy, I think you know this, is I understand. That can have multiple meanings, but I'm not going to define it. They can self-define it because it can mean F off, I'm done with you. I really understand it, or I'm done with this conversation, or I've had enough. It's almost like Nancy, it's almost like a bless your heart, you know,
Yeah.
and
Bless you.
I, under,
Yeah.
I understand.
I kn- I know.
Now I can't get away with the I understand responses to
Well,
Randy anymore.
if you ever hear me say I understand, Randy, you'll know that I just want to probably scream something else.
In other words,
Good to
I will
know.
use that term mask again. It's masking a true response of what you're trying to say. But I think of and polite and Jay, I like to joke about this. I really am a polite person, and my persona is that I'm not. But if I'm busy and it's somebody that I guess I care about or I care about what they're doing, if there's a way I can help out, I will. But if I'm just too busy
Yes.
or I just don't have the bandwidth, and that's usually the case, is
Yeah.
man, I'm just too busy. I got this going on. I got that going on, and that'll usually suffice because it can it can add a lot of stress. And I think stress is kind of the underlying issue with this being able to say no thing. And I'm sure both of you would agree because if you're taking on additional tasks outside of work and your personal responsibilities, and not just your responsibilities, just your personal unwinding time, something's you're going to have to give something to do something there. And
Right.
that's where I think the stress and also some of the anxiety might come in. And I can tell you, as I get older, I don't want any more stress and I don't want any more anxiety.
Gosh.
So with that, it's just saying, and it's I think it's a compliment to be requested to be involved in other extracurricular type of activities. One of my favorite things I used to do is I used to run a golf tournament, a charity golf tournament, and it benefited Children's Hospital in New Orleans. And man, that's one of the things I really, really enjoyed doing just because of who it was benefiting. Because my oldest son had to go through some tests right after he was born. He was born with a multicystic left kidney area, and we spent quite a bit of time at Children's Hospital right after he was born. And so I got to see a lot of things going on there, and it really touched me. So to be able to give back for several years, running a golf tournament with 144 plus golfers, getting volunteers, fundraising, getting food sponsors, getting drink sponsors, coordinating this, coordinating that, recruiting teams. I can't tell you how much time that takes to do all that stuff. But what kept me driven was the end purpose of what I was doing. And then what happens after that? I get requested to help run this tournament and run that tournament. And I'm like,
Right.
brother, I can't do it. I
Like,
can't do it.
yeah, you just did
I don't
an
have the time.
amazing job. You're a
Yeah.
natural for this. We need you to do
Oh,
this. And they,
yeah.
yeah, it's always, lay it on. You're just
Yeah.
natural, which you probably are, Jay. You probably did an amazing job.
I'm sure he
Well,
did, but
I tell you, we had 2 flights of tournaments that would go off, and we raised almost 10,000 a tournament, and to be able to present that check to Children's Hospital was
Amazing.
I can't tell you how much
amazing.
joy it brought to me, and it was really something I'm really proud of that I've done in my lifetime. But going back to the subject of being able to say no, sometimes a good thing that like that will lead to other I don't know if opportunity is the right word here, but other yeah, I guess so. Opportunity
Obligations.
well, an opportunity leads to an
Opportunities to
obligation,
obligate
you
your
know?
time.
You're right. But you only have so much time in a day. And
Right.
I'm the kind of person I need a little bit of J time, not much, but just a little bit. And my therapy is kind of playing music. That's kind of my therapy most of the time, something like that. Or I may just want to veg out and watch a stupid TV show for half an hour. That's just what I do. But being able, if you don't say no to certain things that are a request of your time, and I don't want this to come off as it's a negative thing because it's really not. It's a positive thing all the way
No.
around because you need to have. If you're doing too many things, you're not going to be able to do anything good. I'm a big believer in that. But if you pick and choose or you're strategic about what you spend your disposable that's probably not a good term, your disposable, your extra time with, it matters because it's going to have an effect on your demeanor. It's going to have an effect on your spouse. It's going to have an effect on the mood killers if they're still home. It's going to have an effect on a lot of things. So picking and choosing like for the golf tournaments, I know my wife would be, able to help me or if I'm in some kind of other like the band, my wife Becky helps me out a lot with that stuff, with the accounting stuff and I can bounce things off of her. So she's engaged with a lot of things. I call her the director of security for the band. So she she helps out a ton and again, that just but it gives us time together too. So it kind of works out there. But sometimes you just gotta say, Nancy, like we were saying earlier, you just gotta say, I don't have the time. I'm sorry, man. I wish I could. And I know you've had to do that and knowing your personality, that's not easy for you
No,
to do.
it's not. But I think life events happen too to us that, I think my dad was to me, he was young when he passed away. And I think the cancer that he had, the research shows that stress is a tribute to it and things like that. Really, a lot of it, and probably that's what my husband saw all those years. He probably saw, you need to start doing some self care and too. And a lot of that is just realizing the stresses, what are they doing inside to you? And how, are they making you a better person to the people you're around all the time? Probably not, maybe, and things. And is it doing things that are affecting inside of you in your health? So I think those things are very important because trust me, time goes so quickly. Yeah.
Hmm.
And stress is a silent assassin, man. It can do some damage to you that you're not even aware of. And when you're not able to say no, because then after you realize, hey, I probably should have said no, then all the anxiety is hitting like, man, I shouldn't have agreed to do that. Damn, you know? And now you're like, I got to go back and tell him I can't do it. So it's just, but if you'd have handled it right on the front end and said, no, I'm just not available, which was probably the right thing to do, even though, and I know like Nancy, she's probably one of the best hearted people I know. She's, yeah, I can help. I'll be glad to help. And then about a half hour later, why the hell did I do that? So it's just those kind of things happen. And, Randy, how are you with that? Do you have a hard time saying no? I want to hear this one.
Oh, no, I do. I 100% do. I
Okay.
mean, and it's not even always just, an obligation or a help out. Sometimes it's even just like a social thing,
Mhm.
where you're trying to just fit people in and, the next thing you know, you've got 3 social engagements on one Saturday and you're gone the whole day, kind of flitting in and out here and there. And then Sunday comes and you're just completely wiped. And then Monday comes and you're like, I need a weekend from my
Yeah.
weekend.
Right. Right.
It's not even always just, and you have the best intentions. And it's not that you don't want to receive social invitations or you don't want to, spend time with people, but sometimes it's just very hard to balance. And I know, I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time saying no if unless I truly have a reason why I can't commit to doing something, like I already have something scheduled or I have something planned or, it's going to overlap with something else. I have a hard time just saying, no, that just needs to be my time.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the work that we do, and I think people kind of figured out we're colleagues here, and I'll let them figure that out. But, you know, two of the biggest compliments that I give people, one of them's offshore related is, man, that's a good hand right there. And I'll usually reserve that for the guys. And for just a neutral term, is I'll call it an ass kicker. These people are ass kickers, man. They're good. And I can tell all our people out in podcast land right now that the two ladies I'm talking to are ass kickers, and they get shit done. And I'm very blessed to have colleagues like them and other friends, like them that it just makes me a better person and a more positive, productive person as well. So I just wanted to make sure to extend that to both of y'all, and also, for being on the show today and doing your first podcast. I gotta give you a little hand there. So y'all are doing great,
Thank you,
and
Jay.
you're a pretty good co-host, man. Look out. And
It's been
you would know it's our first time. I don't know if she's telling us the truth. I'm gonna have to do a little investigatory work here. But no, I think that's kind of a subject where there could be a domino effect on things if you're not able to say no to things, and not really a positive domino effect, because it can have affect outliers of things with your family, your job, and you know and the most important thing I think we overlooked here is your rest and your sleep, because you got to get your sleep. If you don't get your sleep, it's so important as far as being able to be productive. And as we move along in life, and as we get a little older, it's just something that's very important. And one of the podcasts recently we were talking about is the fact, the same one, about staying active as life progresses. One of the important things is getting a good night's sleep,
Yeah.
being disciplined to go to bed, put that damn phone down and close your eyes and go to bed and go to sleep. And, one of the guys was like, man, if I get 5.5 hours, I'm good. If I get 6.5, I'm good. And I'm like around that 6.5, I'm good to go. If I get that, I'm dynamite. But you have to, if you're doing these other things and you can't say no, your mind's going to be wandering. You're going to be thinking about the negative stuff and what you have to do on top of all your other daily, weekly responsibilities that you have. And it's going to cause the stress. So you're going to have stress, you're going to have lack of sleep. And it's like that old thing with the airplane. Put on your mask first, then you put on the other person's mask that may need help with it. Because if you can't take care of you, you can't take care of nobody. You can't take care of anybody else. And I'm just a big believer in that kind of philosophy. So I think that'll be it for us covering that topic there. I think that was some healthy conversation there. And one thing I will say, it's kind of comedic, but it's also true. As I get older, I have a little easier time saying no. I also have a former band member. I'll just call him Broski because he calls everybody Broski. If you ask him a question, he's going to say yes to everything. He's the nicest dude, kindest dude you could ever meet. Broski, can you do this? Oh yeah, man, I'm in. Let's go. And he'll call you today. Oh, dude, Broski, I shouldn't have said, yeah, man, I can't do that. Man, I forgot I had to do this, man. And so we started telling him, all right, go check with your wife, make sure you're available. Because
Yeah.
yeah, man, I can do it. Bro, I can't do that, man. So just
Always
for the,
check with the spouse.
but he's a wonderful sweetheart of a guy, one super talented guitar player, singer. But I'll just call him Broski, and he knows if he's watching this, he'll know who it is. But his wife told us, she says he says yes to everything. You gotta ask me. He's not going to tell you no.
Yeah.
And I think that's how Nancy,
Yeah. I've gotten much
you know.
better.
So look, y'all, I think this is a great segue to wrap things up here. And I just want to make sure, did I miss anything important that y'all saw that we covered here today, or any other points you want to bring up, Nancy?
No, I'm good. I'm good. It was a good
That was simple.
conversation. I thought, and thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I was your surprise guest. Ready?
I'm so glad you were too. I didn't know I was going to have a surprise guest. I was
I'm
doubly
so glad we
surprised.
were able to
I
pull
was
that off,
surprised by
Nancy.
the guest that there was going
Oh,
to be one, and then I was surprised that it was you.
I seriously was right when I almost said something earlier today. I was like,
That would have been so funny. I would have been like, huh?
What? Huh?
Huh?
or did you forget to invite me to something? No,
It was almost a minor miracle. And we're like, she is going to be so
yeah.
surprised.
No, this was a lot of fun, Jay. I'm excited.
No,
I've been,
It
no,
was a lot of
appreciate
fun.
it.
yeah, I think Randy and we've enjoyed listening to some of your other podcasts. So this will be interesting to see once it's put together and everything.
Like I tell you, the best way I tell people is just treat it like we're sitting around at a table, just, shooting a bowl, talking, that's really what
Yeah.
it's like. Are you?
Not the
Asked before on some of your podcasts, you didn't ask Randy, and it's a interesting question. So, Randy, I have one question left. If you could go back and talk to someone, who would that be?
dead or alive.
Let me frame it
You
for
put
you.
it
And Nancy's got a good point. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with
there.
anyone, and if somebody would want to have a conversation back with you, who would it be? It could be a family member, movie star, whatever. Anybody that interests you in history,
We stumped
just
her.
off the top of your head. Who would
No,
that
no,
person be?
it would definitely be my great grandmother. My
Your great
my great
grandmother.
grandma. Yeah, my great grandma Elvira. Absolutely.
Paternal or maternal?
Maternal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us why.
So she passed away when I was probably about 4 years old.
Okay.
But I have a shocking number of memories, um, you know, associated with her directly, but also she was first generation American. So
Okay.
she immigrated from Italy, her and her husband, and then had their children here in the States. So my grandfather, my papa, was actually like the first natural born US citizen and on that side of my family. And my grandmother is a very interesting woman in the sense that she wanted to keep some parts of her culture and pass some of that down to her family. And then other parts she did not. She very much wanted to be an American. And so I just would be so curious to really have the opportunity to ask her questions as an adult about why she made the decisions that she made and what influenced her at the time, and what the circumstances of just her life and her upbringing were.
I love that.
I think that'd be fascinating.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nancy, you were going to say something?
I love that because I think I love hearing when someone wants to it's a relative.
Yes.
That's very
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
I've gotten some very interesting responses there. Some I wouldn't have dreamed that person would have said that, but man, they're all really, really good and very, very interesting. And likewise, and Nancy, I agree with you. I love hearing when it's a family member, but I like hearing the story behind it. What is the reason you want to talk to that person so much? And it's usually information, like Randy just said, because my mother passed away in '07, and I can't tell you how many times my sister and I that we talk about, man, I wish we would have asked mom that. I wonder why that happened. I wish
Yeah.
mom would know. Man, I wish I could ask mom that. So it's just something that I think is just a common thing with a lot of people. But Nancy, look at you asking the great questions like that, man. Damn,
Hey, someone
I
listen.
told her I was going to keep it simple. That's why I didn't ask her that one. But Nancy recalled it, so I got to give her big props. You'll be co-hosting again soon,
Nancy, you have to learn to say no.
right? Nancy, will you co-host again? Sure, Jay. Oh, man, if we ever get the Commodore on here, I'm gonna have to have two co-hosts for that one.
That would be entertaining.
No, but
Yes.
that was a great answer, Randy. I love hearing those because I'm a history buff, especially with people with their family, and I'm just a naturally curious person. So I love hearing those types of
Yeah.
things. So, what was her name again? Let's give her some props. What was the name? Yeah,
Elvira.
Elvira. I love it. That's cool. So, thank you for sharing that personal side of things. All right, as we're wrapping up things here, I just want to remind everybody to please follow us or subscribe on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We advertise a show on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so we're all over the place. There's no reason to miss us. And this has been season 2, episode 9 with Randi Nine. So how cool is that? You can't go wrong there. And so with that, I want to thank my guest Randi for being on the show today. You've been amazing. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And my
Thank you for
co-host,
having me.
absolutely. And what a great subject we had talking about boundaries. I love it. And I think you were a perfect guest for that, Randi.
Thanks, Jay.
No, not you, Nancy. I'm looking at Randi to play something.
What? Why are you
I
looking
just
at
gave you a
me?
compliment. I'm not always nice.
You are not always nice. That's true. It's
I'm
amazing that
not
I agreed
editing
to
that.
do
That's going to stay
this.
like that.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. No, Jay, thank you so much. This was honestly a blast. Thank you for recruiting Nancy to come on and have this conversation with us. I think it really enhanced the topics and gave us another perspective.
Well, with adding Nancy Hatley of the Florida Hatleys to the show, I'm adding a little more credibility to what we're doing here with our broadcasting. So, I really appreciate her.
Fair.
I mean,
You guys are
Yes,
awesome.
Randy,
Love
I
you.
really wanted to bring you into contract negotiations, but we had to keep this on the lid, with her joining the show. So
I understand.
There's
I
a
had
lot
to
of
get some
top
outside,
words. She's on time.
legal representation because her people are not easy to deal with. I had to take care of that.
I've heard that about the Florida Hatleys.
They are something else, man. That is a crew, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
No, but seriously though, Nancy, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Anything for you, Jay.
Really, I thought it would really bring a smile and to Randy. I know she was probably a little nervous about it, but having you come on, I think the first thing I heard her say was, "Oh, fun." All right, Randy, you ready? We're gonna do our sign off. You ready?
Ready?
Okay, so we thank everyone for watching the show, and we'll catch you on the flip
Flip
side for the next
side.
episode of In the Pocket with J Bo. Thank y'all.